Ask them if they're
Wait. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining our listening session on this evening, May 11th. It is 6:30 p.m. and you could have been spending your time doing something else, but you're here with us, and so we're very, very grateful. Just a brief introduction for those of you that may not know me. My name is Aubrey Molinetto. I work for Clean Water Action, and I am the Trenton Mercer County Vicinity water organizer. Here with us, we have Fred Stein, and he is with the Delaware Riverkeeper Network. Fred and I are working together in tandem to bring webinars and advocacy programming to the city of Trenton and the Mercer County area through a grant that we have co-worked on, and that was funded through the William Penn Foundation. On the phone, I have Jamila Harris from DEP, and we will be expecting a representative from EPA, and hopefully our Brownsfield coordinator from the city of Trenton will be available. We want to thank Pastor Karen Hernandez-Granzen for allowing us to work with her to bring this listening session into the community, and she's doing that through the Westminster Presbyterian Church in Trenton. So real quick, what our grant does is we do upstream, downstream education. And what that really is bringing together the two different communities along the Assunpink Creek. We have all the way up as far as Allentown, that comes down to the city of Trenton, that is the basin. And what happens is whatever is done upstream impacts the city of Trenton at the basin. So tonight's listening session is to get an understanding of what the residents are really concerned about. We mentioned in our email whether it was about illegal dumping and abandoned properties, and just some other stormwater management, some other areas that, street cleaning, and that we're really concerned about, and we're trying to build upon what the residents are saying their concerns are, so that we can develop more advocacy training, and so that we can offer some kind of insight into how to approach these matters. The reason why we have these representatives willing to work with us is because they're also working with the city of Trenton to make sure that that we're responsibly handling these areas of focus. They want to hear from the community as well, because they're working to make sure that these areas of concern are being dealt with at the state level also. So everyone's going to have an opportunity to speak. We just going to ask that everyone please make sure that before the night ends that you put your name and your email into the chat box, because we're taking those names down. We offered $25 gift certificates to be in attendance for this, and all of that will be given out at the end of the 3 listening sessions. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Fred and ask Fred if he would like to begin with the line of questioning, and then we could just flow from there. And then I'll have, if you want to speak up, unmute yourself and speak up and ask questions. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Aubrey. I just wanted to give just another 30 seconds of background, if I can. When Clean Water Action and the Delaware Riverkeeper Network applied for this grant through the William Penn Foundation, the Assunpink Creek is not a unique creek in where it starts in the bucolic headwaters of out in the wildlife management area in Allentown, and that where it flows down into the city of Trenton. Just like I live in the Cooper River watershed, which starts out in Voorhees and Gibbsboro, but it flows into the city of Camden. And we work over in Philadelphia on the Darby Creek, which starts up in Villanova and Radnor, all the mainline Philadelphia area, but it flows right down into the Eastwick area, down by the airport and the John Hines Wildlife Refuge. So what we experience on the Assunpink's not unique. And our objective was to try and bring the two communities, the suburban and urban areas and rural areas all together, and have the creek kind of be the connection that brings people together. And one of the things that we did for this grant is we created a series of community advocacy trainings. And those trainings included, we did a program on the municipal MS4 stormwater permit, how can community members help their towns become better, more compliant, and be a partner in that process. We did a government records filing review, how you do it's called OPRA, the Open Public Records Act. How do you get government information, permit applications, information on brownfields and things like that, so you can have a more effective voice. We did Rowan University did a GIS mapping, how anybody in the community can create and look at and gather information from the mapping on the state's website. We did a data miner, which is another source of information DEP has on their website. And finally, we have a student at Lehigh University in the master's program. He did a census data seminar on, it's a program called Policy Map and Opportunity Atlas, how you can gather information such as food deserts and heat islands and brownfields and economic data, bring them together to tell a story about, maybe you are trying to make a point to your elected officials or your planning board, or what. It's just another tool in the toolbox. And we have coming up is a presentation on climate change, and another one on stormwater management, how we're using more and more, even in all communities, we're using rain gardens and other green stormwater infrastructure to better manage stormwater. So it was out of all of these trainings that we started thinking, well, maybe we're not bringing the information that the residents of Trenton really want or need. And that's very, very common, where, members of an environmental community, environmental organizations think they know what's best, but we want, and that's what we brought these listening sessions. Aubrey came up with the idea of having these 3 listening sessions so we can then ask the residents and the people that are intimately involved with the city of Trenton, what else is there that we can take our energy and expertise and knowledge and help address issues that are like right in the forefront of residents of Trenton. So that's the purpose of the listening sessions. So I'm going to use that as a segue to open the door up, and you can see we have a relatively small crowd. Everyone has a chance, whether you're a resident or not resident. You can bring just share some of your ideas and your thoughts. I'll be taking notes, and at the end of these 3 listening sessions, we could develop maybe in partnership with everyone that's on this line, maybe in partnership on creating another presentation, a training that will benefit the residents of Trenton.
Thank you, Fred.
You're welcome.
So what's on our minds this evening? Would anyone like to start? What are some of their concerns that they've seen in Trenton? Maybe they're a resident and they have concerns about the area. Maybe they attend church in the community and they're intimately involved in that way, and they would like to see certain things happen, or just have certain concerns, environmental concerns, or concerns regarding what they feel could be done in the city of Trenton.
May I?
Yes, please.
Hola, everyone.
Hola.
So this is not a new concern, but this is an ongoing concern. And I'm just wondering how your organization is partnering with ISLES to address the problem we have with lead paint and issues in the old plumbing systems of Trenton. And then I just had this thought that I attended one of your previous presentations, and there's so much that the community doesn't know about the environment. I wondered if you would want to consider piggybacking on, the city has a weekly block party throughout the city of Trenton over, like, I think it's maybe 8 weeks or 10 weeks. And when they're at Westminster, we partner with them. They bring a DJ and a microphone. So you actually, and we have nonprofits come and provide information. So you have a captured audience on a weekly basis where you could do a bilingual spiel, concise 5-minute, 6-minute presentation about the issues that Trentonians need to know about. And if they know about it, need to know how they're going to be addressed, and then have a table set up underneath a tent so that people can go and get more information going. And throughout, it's usually a 3-hour to 4-hour event. They advertise from 4 to 8, but they usually start shutting down about 7:30-ish. But that's a couple of hours where you can have access and keep repeating, listen, we're underneath the tent and here's information for you. And because the Latinx community is the fastest growing community,
It is.
You want to make sure that it's a bilingual presentation and that your resources are also in Spanish.
We thank you so much, Pastor Karen, for that. So we're working alongside different partnerships. So we partnered with the Water Institute with Kendra McCoy, and she's working very heavily in the city of Trenton. I have not yet been able to secure a date with ISLES, but that is something that we are working towards. So thank you very much for bringing that up. And I was not aware of the city block party thing. That sounds very exciting. So I will definitely keep that in the forefront of my mind and reach out. I'll connect with you later to find out how I can get on that. But when you brought this up, I have Peg that said lead in the water too. Resident engagement, resident education, helping them be aware of freshwater access and concerns. Peg, do you want to elaborate on this a little bit?
Well, I guess because, especially downtown, a lot of residents are somewhat transitory, and nobody really has a strong sense of community. Majority of residences are rented or vacant. And I think a first step is to really be able to have the residents engage in this need in some way, whether it's through a block party with a table outside, or if the Levitt Amp concerts come back in the summer, have a standing table there, or whatever it is. I mean, it's a matter of getting people not just to be aware of these concerns and hazards, but really to have them engaged and have some action items where they can feel like they take ownership of some of this. And then second to that would be educating them, or, not in the sense of like a college, just because I work for the college, I'm not talking about that, like information, so that they can make informed decisions, and so that they feel informed and they feel participatory.
No, this is great, Peg. So one of the webinars that we've created and continue to create are not just for the building of the toolkit, right? We're also trying to educate them, the residents, on how to become proactive in, defending their community, right? For a lack of a better term. part of that is we're building up to have a watershed tour in the month of September. And we've picked out some sites that we're gonna connect the upstream and the downstream communities together and have them understand how each community impacts the other so that they can understand what is happening along the watershed. But before we get to that, we want to get the word out to the community. And so we're looking to get canvassers. So we're hoping that through this, through these 3 listening sessions and the community event that we're going to with East Trenton Collaborative on Saturday, the 14th, that we could generate some participation and some interest because there's a small funding for them so that each canvasser will get like $15 an hour. The supervisors will get $20 an hour. So we're going to train them on how to canvass, how to supervise, and then go doing the knock on the doors with a message about what, you know, the Assapean Creek and how it's in their community and how they can help to save it, essentially. And then give them information about the webinars that we have as well. So there's so many moving pieces to this, but hearing from the community is the most essential part for us because anybody could come into the city of Trenton and say they want to do this and that, right? And they end up taking from the residents. We don't want to take anything from the residents, but hear what they have to say and then build something so that they can have in their possession and teach their kids from years to come. So that's like the overall goal. But these notes are being taken and we're looking to now reshape how we do that. So your input is definitely appreciated and is definitely valuable. And you mentioned you work for the College of New Jersey. Which one?
No, I'm sorry. I work for Mercer County Community College
Oh,
at
wonderful.
James Kearney. I just put in the chat, if you send me something, I'll post it around the campus. I'll distribute it to my students.
Great. Do you have an environmental group there?
No, we do not.
Okay. Then we could talk offline. Me, you, and Fred could talk offline about how we can maybe customize this canvassing to your students.
Mhm.
Because the goal of the canvassing is to teach the residents how to go about getting support for their concerns in the area. And politicians do it all the time, right? Sometimes you get them to knock on the door and then that's after they get in, they don't knock on the doors again sometimes, right? But we want to leave that training with our young people because part of our deliverables for the grant is once you train up the communities, they should be able to do this once we leave. They should be able to have this. So this would be great. So if you could put your phone number in a message just to me, and then I'll reach out to you so we can collaborate and see how that works.
Sure.
So I thank you very much. Alicia says, for me, I think there should be more often training sessions for the residents on issues concerning clean water. Yes, I agree.
Alicia, could I ask Alicia, could you, now clean water, I mean, that's a pretty broad category. What, are you talking about clean water in the creek? Clean water from your tap? Clean water from stormwater, flooding, or can you give it a little bit more detail?
Are you able to unmute, Alicia?
You have to give her permission or give her.
Oh, I don't know. That's what I'm trying to find out now.
There she is. There she is.
Oh, okay.
I think she's just playing with us.
No, I just asked her to unmute. Alicia, you there? Okay. Okay, great. So now I'm going to start picking on people because I like to hear what everyone has to say here. So I'm
Aubrey,
looking
if I
at.
could just,
Mhm.
Aubrey, I apologize. If I
Yes,
could,
that's
I
fine.
just follow up with what you were saying and what Peggy was saying, just two points is at Mercer County College with the Delaware Riverkeeper Network, I had gone out as a guest speaker through the New Jersey Sierra Club, and they hold monthly meetings at the community college, and there's distribution of flyers. Of course, now it's electronic notifications, but we would get like 15 or 20 students that would come in
Fred,
and
is
hear
that,
about.
is that at the Kearney campus downtown, or is that at the West Windsor campus?
It was right off of Route 1.
Then that's the West Windsor campus. I
Oh, okay.
work at the campus downtown,
She's
Well,
maybe
we
about
could,
4 blocks away from Assunpink.
okay. Well, I think that, we could talk about getting on, maybe coming down and doing and we could buy pizza and invite students. Maybe there's one day of the week that everybody, I remember from my community college days, there was one day of the week where everybody was on campus. Then the rest of the week it was more sporadic, but maybe we could do
I would be
something
there
like
for
that.
pizza, I could tell you that much.
that would be great, Fred.
Well, Fred,
mhm.
to be honest, college classes the credit classes are ending because graduation is next week. So
That's
they're
good.
done with their finals. And summer session is usually light, but I don't work so much with credit students. I work a lot with non-credit students. So
Mhm.
my students are actually residents right downtown, and most have been born and raised there. Although I do have a large immigrant population too. And that's not to say that they're not downtown, because that's another, but I have immigrants from all over the world, not just Latin American and Hispanic countries. I have them from all over.
That's great. So Fred, Peg sent me her information. We'll
Great.
set up a time with her and we could discuss this further.
And I would only add just one other point is you brought up the lead in the drinking water, Peg. I mean, there are other organizations and Aubrey is like a fireball, she's like constantly going at 4 o'clock in the morning, but there are many, so she does a lot and I help her out where I can. But there are other organizations in the city of Trenton that are nonprofit organizations that are doing targeted on lead in the drinking water. In fact, this Saturday at the East Trenton Community Day, there's going to be organizations there. And I know I was in planning meetings and there were organizations, maybe somebody else on this call has more information on that, but there are organizations directly working on that issue.
Thank you, Fred.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna call on Kurt. I'm sorry, because Kurt looks so interesting over there, him and Steve and Michael.
Well, yeah, right, Fred. I'm Kurt. I'm a program coordinator at the East Trenton Collaborative. So to answer that first thing, Lead Free New Jersey will definitely be there Saturday. And I know you all most of you have probably worked with Sherelle because she focuses most directly on environmental safety things. So yeah, and we have our lead free community advocates that will be out on Saturday as well. One note for that, we are keeping an eye on the weather. Just that decision will be made tomorrow. Hopefully, forecast looks a little iffy, but just one of the things that Sherelle and I have talked about recently is kind of like identifying next steps for just like the acid peak in general. I think one of the issues that comes up a lot in conversations with residents is either like the contamination in the creek or like the perceived contamination in the creek, which we've tried to like find if there's data or if there's research that or recent data or research that shows what contaminants are in the creek currently. So I think that could be, moving forward either way, if it's like, hey, we need to remediate the creek, or if it's like, hey, the creek is actually, the water's not that bad, I think one way or another, that kind of like pivot point of figuring out what contaminants are there now is from like residents' perspectives, I think would be great. I don't know if anyone knows if that exists. The only thing I could find was like I think report from like 2000 from EPA or the Army Corps of Engineers about it. But I'm not like an environmental expert, so I don't think I did a great job deciphering that. But yeah, that's just kind of some feedback from recent meetings and conversations with residents and the ESOC committee.
No, that's good. Thank you so much, Kurt. And it's nice to meet you. I didn't know that you were part of ETC. We're establishing this relationship with your group and we're really excited about it. So whichever way we can help, we're helping, and however, which way, you all can help us get this information out and also to do different kinds of programmings. So now Jamila's on the phone. Jamila, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. Do you think that you can speak to maybe any contaminants or which avenue that we would look at?
Yeah, I was working with EPA, my colleagues over at EPA. I think I sent you their information this morning. We were actually looking into a grant program that's citizen science based. It would be an EPA grant that would actually require a group to use the equipment to actually do monitoring and taking the data to actually figure out the contaminant levels and kind of teach residents how to use the equipment. The EPA would actually fund that part and actually provide the equipment to the residents. So we were in talks with East Trenton Collaborative about that program. We did miss the application deadline, but I think there's another one coming up. So I was going to present that at our next environmental meeting for East Trenton. So it will be a good way, I think, for residents to actually learn about how to sample the creek and learn exactly what's in it. But we were also looking for some college students to kind of help with the data analysis piece, because that grant doesn't provide any funding to do the actual data analysis. Like, it provides the equipment, so someone would come in and show you how to use the equipment, how to take the water samples, but you need someone to actually manage the data. So I was going to present that to East Trenton Collaborative. As far as the current state of the creek, the department does have data. I can send you some information offline about. We do keep track of the creek. I think Fred did a presentation. He can speak to this about various points where the creek's health is relatively good because of the measure of aquatic life there. So I can definitely get the current data, but the department does monitor the various points of the creek for health, and we monitor that. One of the ways we do keep track of that is the amount of aquatic life in the creek is a measure of its health. So definitely I can get you that information, and if you want to learn a bit more about the EPA grants that are available for the Citizen Science Project, I'm more than willing to share that information.
Thank you so much, Jamila. That is very helpful. I did not know about the grant. And maybe that's something we can all sit down and kind of discuss so that we can work with you all on it if ETC is looking to do that. So at another, I guess afterwards, you could give us an email regarding that information, and then we can hold another session and you be involved in it as well. But that's
okay. Yep, and EPA will be taking the lead on that too, because that's their program. And that.
I didn't hear you. Kind of came out, Jamila. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, EPA. Since that's one of their grants for the Citizen Science Project, we can definitely set that meeting up with them, with my contact, and we can go over the details on how to apply for the grant and that kind of stuff. You have my email. I'll send it to you right now, and we can set up a meeting.
That sounds great, Jamila. Thank you so much.
Could I add two things? Could I add two things, Aubrey?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. So Jamil, we had the Delaware Riverkeeper Network just submitted a grant to the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. And of course, it's a long shot, like all these competitive grants. but it's very similar type of scope of work in working with East Trenton Collaborative and others to hire some interns, Trenton resident interns to go and learn those skills and to take them to the East Trenton Collaborative summer program and things like that. But I don't think that, so we could, I mean, it's like, it's competitive, so there's a good chance we don't get that grant. So definitely you want to keep that in the scope, obviously, of the EPA grant. So, then the worst case scenario is we both get funded and we coordinate our programs so they complement each other and still meet the deliverables. So that's, we can talk, when you talk to Aubrey, we can talk about that, and maybe we could share our scope of work. That way, where, what we're doing and can complement whatever you guys are doing.
That sounds like a good idea, Fred.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
The other point I had is to get, because Kurt isn't the first person to bring this up about, people don't know enough. People who live alongside the creek don't know enough about the Assunpink Creek, whether it's just a polluted, disgusting mess that I don't want anybody to go near, or could I take my kid down there and show them how to skip stones and do stuff like that you want people to have an option of. And I did do some very superficial research on DEP's website and found that the water quality, while impaired because it's an urban waterway, it's not going to catch on fire like waterways used to back in the 30s and 40s and 50s. And with Jamila, if we could work together, we could, Delaware Riverkeeper Network could take, and Clean Water Action could make this another one of our training sessions and put together like the state of the Assunpink, kind of like a 101 college, 101 level, so just generally people know that because the Assunpink is, it's got challenges, but it's a lot cleaner than it used to be. And I went out recently with someone from the city on the brownfields coordinator, and he was just talking about all these challenging sites, but how they're making progress cleaning them up, and the more they get cleaned up, that it's just that much less non-point pollutants and groundwater discharges, going into the creek. So there's a lot of good things to talk about when we talk about our waterways. Still some challenges, but a lot of good things to talk about.
And the more we educate, the more people take into account how the smallest measure that you can take of, being accountable for your little parcel of land or, your community, it helps, it improves, it improves the waterways, it improves our communities. I'm gonna pick on Patricia. Patricia, do you have anything that you would like to participate?
Well, I just wanted to share a bit about how I live in Lawrence. So the Assunpink will flood as it's fed by the Shabakunk. So where we used to live, the Assunpink would flood all across. Let's see, it was right under the bridge on Route 1 as it was going over Whitehead Road. And as the Assunpink flooded, then the whole area up Route 1 and around where we live now, it can be almost like an island. You can't get out of here if the Shabakunk's flooding really badly. So I don't know if it's a function of drainage. It just doesn't seem like enough water can get through the pipes that have been installed like underneath different roadways or whatever. But with all these systems flowing into the Assunpink, I would think that that would impact its water quality as well.
Yeah, I agree. You have me thinking now, where can I look to find out what has that effect? What is creating that that situation where maybe not enough water is coming through, and so it kind of backflows, and that's why we have the flooding. I took some notes down. I will reach out to the city of Trenton just to kind of get an idea of what that looks like and what the maintenance on these pipings look like, and if they are responsible or not for it, and then circle back around to the people that, and maybe do some kind of other training on how to find this information out. The first thing that I think about is the MS4 training, Fred, when we're looking at the stormwater management, because it could be something as easy as the stormwater drains are not, being cleaned out properly or
Yeah.
something, right?
Well,
So I don't. Mhm. Yeah, Fred.
I was going to say, obviously, it's like non-point source pollution. It's pollution's coming from all over the place, and the solutions are similar, need to come from all over the place. A lot of times what happens in Lawrenceville or Lawrence, just like in Hamilton Township, the Delaware Riverkeeper Network spent 15 years working, appearing in front of the zoning and planning boards in Hamilton Township. And they're not unique. That's like any town that we could have found. But I mean, they have constant flooding. They have flood in Hamilton. They have constant flooding of Sweetbriar Avenue, where the Myrie Run joins the Assunpink and sends flood waters right down to Trenton. But they're getting ready to cut down 7.5 acres of trees to put in a solar array. And I'm not picking on Hamilton Township because other towns do the same thing. I live in Haddon Township, and our town does the planning and zoning boards up in these upstream communities where development is continuing to happen. That you're right, Aubrey. We could take our MS4 municipal training and maybe improve it to make it so people feel more comfortable going and standing in front of their planning board and know what they should be asking and looking, because a lot of times every municipality has just recently, last year, approved a new stormwater ordinance that DEP required, and nearly every one of them did the absolute basic minimum of trying to create better stormwater ordinances, because that's what DEP said. This is the minimum. So that's what we gave. That's what most towns did. Some towns were thinking outside the box and thinking that, let's do a better job, because it's not just the people of Trenton that we're flooding out, it's our own communities too. But a lot of times a developer will come in and he'll convince the planning board and their experts that you're getting a great project here. We're going to cut down 7.5 acres of trees, and we're going to reduce your flooding. And they try and make these lame, declarations, and so it takes residents from the community to be there and counter that and talk about, well, wait, isn't Sweetbriar already flooding? How can you cut down acres and acres of trees? And that's just one project. Lawrence had the same one. You have a big business right off of 95 or 295, a big topsoil and mulch company that we busted them because they were just filling wetlands. They were just expanding into wetlands, and they did it back in 2004 too. And it took DEP 7 years in order to get them to fix it. And so we did, so there's a lot of little things like that we can, with a more informed population and more people looking, that can help the situation.
No, Fred, I thank you for that input. And just to add to that, these listening sessions are not to have us as the middleman between the residents and the city of Trenton or any of the communities that we're doing work in. Full disclosure, my late husband was a public works director for the city of Trenton. And I worked 18 years in a public works department. So I do know the ins and outs of that entity and how municipal government works with the residents, and how, you know, once you educate the people and you put them in right alignment with the right people, then it's kind of kismet. It works, you know, it works, but you have to have the education component, and you have to have the people willing to keep their communities clean and not solely depend on the municipal government for everything. Because I think that's the message that gets kind of distorted, right? These are our municipal representatives, so they feel like, you know, sometimes residents feel like, well, we'll put it on them, but there's nothing that we have as the residents have to be accountable for, and that's wrong. When I served as the certified recycling professional in this township of Irvington for many years, and I did shade tree coordinating, and we did, you know, we were answering the phones with the flooding and all those things that all, you know, the issues that a lot of the residents were facing. A lot of those things, when we as property owners and when we as residents take care of our community, we minimalize a lot of that. So our training is to also help our residents to become more accountable so that they can know their part in how all of this works, not just to teach them how to find their voice and to advocate for themselves in the community. That's just one part of it, but the other part of it is accountability. So when we, like I said, when we do these trainings, we're trying to get people to understand, you know, how they can help themselves out, if that makes any kind of sense, you know. And of course, some of our training needs a little bit of fine tuning, right? So part of these listening sessions will help us to be able to fine tune those things, and to be able to collaborate with other professionals that want to contribute to this toolbox and help us to better understand all the other nuances environmentally, municipal wise, and so on and so forth, right? So Michael, with that said, I'm gonna see about my friend Michael over here. Do you have anything that you like to contribute or any concerns that you may have?
So I'm Michael Colbert. I'm a planner with the city, and I'm representing the city. So I'm here at the same mode as well.
Thank you. Now, Michael, you worked with Luis, right?
I worked with him when I was at DCA.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Thank you. Right. Thank you. So it's good to have you here with us representing the city. Is there anything that you would like to say from the city's perspective after everything that you've heard so far on the line?
Sure. There's a couple of things that I'll throw in. First of all, is that in terms of, we've mentioned flooding a couple of times in this session. The city is starting on its Resilient NJ program. This is a program funded by the DEP in order to do a resilience plan and develop resilience standards for the city. We just had our kickoff with our consultants, but we will have a community engagement plan as our first step as part of this process. So people should look out for that in the coming months. Okay. I will also say that we have just finished our public comment period for our draft land development ordinance. So at tomorrow night's planning board meeting, we are going to be reviewing all of the public comments we received at the planning board meeting, going through them and talking about potential changes to the draft ordinance. And we'd love to have members of the public come to that to hear what other members of the community said about the draft LDO and where we might go from here.
That's live.
It's
live.
It's a 6 p.m. and it's a virtual meeting.
Oh, it's virtual.
Oh, it's a virtual. Can you put in the link in the chat box for those that may be interested in attending?
Yes, I can.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I guess the last thing that I'll say is that for many of the issues that you're talking about, the person who is the best person at the city to talk to is J.R. Capasso, who's our Brownfields coordinator. He has done extensive work already on remediation of the Assunpink Creek, and especially things like buyouts of properties that are flood hazards in the Assunpink. So he's definitely the lead on all of this stuff.
JR has been working with us. Thank you, Michael. And he actually took Fred out on a tour of the creek. Was it 2 weeks ago, Fred?
Yes.
Yeah. And he was gonna try to be on tonight. So hopefully he could try to make it to the other meetings as well. But he is very interested in what it is that we're doing, and we're looking to potentially connect with other nonprofit organizations and other individuals that are doing similar works so that we can collaborate. We have been collaborating, like I said, with the Watershed Institute, but we also collaborated with Andrew Tabas of NJ Future, right? And also the Green Team, the Trenton Green Team. Absolutely. And so we've been putting our stuff out there, and actually Andrew, who's going to be transitioning soon, he would always put out our information to the community through the Green Team as well. I came to Trenton with my late husband for a job, and I got left behind to still do work. So I'm like, when you get lemons, you have to turn those things into lemonade, right? And so he believed very passionately about the city of Trenton. He believed in the resources and all of the good people and the good works that were being done here. And I feel like the mantle has been handed down to me now to continue to do this work. And I love environmental programming because I was doing it for a very, very long time. So as many people as we can plant seeds in, and as many people and organizations that we could collaborate with and develop a stronger relationship with the city of Trenton, that is a goal of ours, okay? Because we want to be able to, like I said before, leave this information behind so that folks can have it for the future. All right. I'm trying to see who else. Did we get Alicia to speak?
Could I just real quickly, Michael, because I know you're at the Green Team meetings all the time, and I remembered when you at the beginning of the year, you guys passed the 2022 work plan, or I guess you call it the work plan for the Green Team. One of the things was to try and recruit some city residents to be active participants. Am I misreading that or misremembering that?
No, you're not.
So I mean, and I serve on a similar board down in Camden and one over in Philadelphia, and trying to recruit community members to be active participants. That's what really brings a lot of great information to the table. So that should be out there, that any residents that are or have people that have contact, they do meet during the day, but it's only once a month, and there's work going on all the other 29 or 30 days. But it's a great way for the community members to help and bring important issues that are important to them to the Green Team, which is a group of city residents and other organizations that are committed to make things better in Camden, in Trenton.
Thank you, Fred. Is Sherelle still on? I like to hear from Sherelle.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know. Well, yes, I'm here. Hello, everyone. I don't know what to say, but
Do you have any concerns or anything that maybe your residents have been bringing up in your environmental group regarding any kind of illegal dumping, remediation, any of that we can look into on our end?
oh my goodness, oh my goodness. We have it all, Aubrey. We have it all. We have the illegal dumping. We have the high elevated levels of lead in our soil, in our old homes, in our service lines that service our water to our homes. And we go to the faucet, turn it on, and now we have the water traveling in these pipes that have lead in them. We have this beautiful S&P Creek, and I'm listening to you talking about, it's because of you, Aubrey and Fred, that you have me and the residents even thinking about upstream, downstream, stormwater. And I heard you guys talking about the pipes and the drainage system, and there's something wrong with Trenton. This is in the East Trenton neighborhood. It's a lot of flooding, and since we have May 14th coming up, we have this big community day and watershed cleanup. We plan on doing a scavenger hunt Saturday. Hopefully it doesn't rain. So Andrew Lloyd from the county came out because we thought with the scavenger hunt, we'll use some spray paint can and follow the direction of the pipes underground and how it goes into the drainage system and which way it goes to the S&P Creek for the outflow. Oh my goodness. We looked in some of these drainage systems, these drains out here, I forget what you call them. There's water sitting in them, and that shouldn't be. That means that there could be a clog somewhere in the pipe. Then as we followed the pipe for the outflow into the S&P Creek, there's a tree growing over the outflow, and it's like submerged into the water. Then there was another outflow pipe that you're supposed to see the water flowing out into the creek, and it's filled with leaves. I mean, the city, I don't know who is, we need to know. I mean, with everything that we're dealing with, there's the blight, okay? There's the illegal dumping. Now we got the lead. We got the contaminants in the creek, and our pipes underground, it's the storm water system is crumbling. It's terrible.
Sherelle, thank you for that. And we are going to, we're gonna try to find out who, I don't know, Michael, would that be the engineering department?
We have this, the things that many of the things that Cheryl is referring to is the sewer department.
Oh, the sewer department.
The sewer, we have the sewer department and we have water, and we have Trenton Water Works.
Okay. So, Sherelle, we can get you the information on who to contact over there to make a request to have somebody come out and look at it.
Yeah, I think it would be in our best benefit to have this looked at before it gets any worse.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And so I'll do some digging around tomorrow morning and get you who to actually speak with. I'm thinking of two in particular, but I'm not for certain, and so I don't want to throw any names out there. I want to be responsible with who it is that, you would need to get in contact with. And that's part of the advocacy training, right? So we help you to find out who it is, and then the people go and do what they need to do afterwards. But thank you again, Michael, for clarifying that. So we can know what direction we're going to look into.
Can I say one?
Yes,
Sorry,
yes.
Aubrey. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Aubrey. I just wanted to say one other thing. Tomorrow, May 12th, the commissioners are having a meeting at 640 South Broad Street, second floor at 6 p.m. And at this meeting, some East Trenton residents, as well as lead-free New Jersey advocates, are going there to advocate for any grant monies, if there's any left or coming through the pipe with the ARP funding. If our county could see about putting this fund towards Trenton Waterworks so we can get these lead service lines changed, because we did, some residents from phase 1 got their lines changed, some phase 2, but now we're running out of money, don't have money for phase 3. And there's people like me that's still needing to buy water or use a filter and worried about lead service lines in their homes. So if anybody wants to come out, that's tomorrow for the commissioners. They used to call them freeholders, but it's the commissioners meeting, 6 p.m., 640 South Broad Street.
Thank you, Sherelle. Do you want to type that into the chat real quick for those that are?
I will do that.
Now, did I hear from?
And I could just add, Sherelle, I mean, ask the commissioners about how much is Mercer County going to be receiving from the federal money that's coming in, the infrastructure trust money. A lot of that is supposed to be for water systems, and I don't know, what does that mean? Does that mean creek restoration and maintenance, dredging and piping and stuff? Or could that mean fixing lead lines? I don't know, but that's a good question to ask, because there's so much money being distributed nationwide, and everybody's hustling to try and get their projects, in the pipeline, figuratively speaking, to get funding. So that would be something that you can, you don't go in, if you go in with some questions like that, might help direct the discussion. So it's not like, oh, well, if maybe in 2024, we'll have some excess funding. There's money coming in from other sources.
Thank you, Fred. Jamila, do you have anything you would like to close with, maybe?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to say thank you for putting this together. The more knowledge that we share among each other is how things get done. So I just appreciate everyone in the call's efforts and putting their information in so that the community can be more informed and we can make real change. I will send out my email to Aubrey if you can distribute it, since I'm not online, but I just want to thank everybody for their time.
Thank you, Jamila, for being in attendance with us. Pastor Karen, my beautiful sister, thank you again for helping us to put this together. Do you have any closing remarks?
I think we accomplished what the goals were. I heard information being shared. I heard concerns being shared. And I heard about realistic ways in the near future for us to continue to mobilize and get more people involved in these efforts. So we've got 2 more weeks of listening.
Yeah.
And I know we're going to work out the kinks so that everyone that wants to get on gets on. And so I'm hopeful about that. I'm glad to be a part of this team.
Thank you so much, Pastor Karen. And if we could just send the information out to our congregations, our churches, because there's a whole demographic that this information is not reaching. And the church plays a very foundational point in our communities, especially our communities of color. And so we need to get the word out. We need to help build up their voices as well. Some pastors, like Pastor Karen, is involved actively in the community, and they bring the word back to others, to their congregants. But then there are some pastors and other clergy that are not as active in their communities. And so the information kind of falls short, so each one teach one, and each one brings that information to one another, like Jamila so eloquently pointed out. So again, I want to say thank you. If anyone has any final questions, concerns, please say it now. If not, then I'm going to ask Fred to give his final closing remarks. And you don't know how blessed I feel that everybody showed up. And I do apologize for the little kinks that with the folks not being able to get on this evening, but we're going to make sure that they get on for the next 2 webinar sessions that we're going to be having. So anybody want to say anything else real quick? No?
I will say one more thing.
Yes.
Because of what you said about the need for us to mobilize the faith community, you might already know this, but just in case, Concerned Pastors is the biggest ministerium in Trenton. It's absolutely majority African Americans. And then there's the Latino Clergy Association. So you definitely want to connect with them.
Okay. You gave me the Concerned Pastors. I need the Latino clergy. So if you have that information, can you send it to me on my cell phone? I would appreciate that, because we definitely want to invite them out to the webinars as well. And these webinars, we want to be able to pass that information all along to our children. Like I mentioned in our last webinar, all of the mapping that we've been learning over the past month is like, I'm impressed. So if we can get that information out to more communities, it would be a benefit. So thank you again, Pastor Karen. Thank you everyone for showing up. And Fred, got anything else to say?
No, I don't. I'd just like to thank everyone for coming out. It's been great. Good information.
Yes. And we've taken notes, and we also recorded the session so that we can refer back to it for everything. Thank you, Sherelle, for making time to come in. Sherelle is a trooper, I'm telling you. She had a meeting this evening and then she jumped right on. So I love the people that we're working with. I thank you, Michael, for coming out and representing the city of Trenton. And I hope to be able to engage other individuals that want to learn more about what we're doing and also participate with us in upcoming events. Everyone have a really good night. Enjoy your dinner and get some rest. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.